from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "If your brother does something wrong, go and have it out with him alone, between your two selves. If he listens to you, you have won back your brother. If he does not listen, take one or two others along with you. The evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses is required to sustain any charge. But if he refuses to listen to these, report it to the community. And he refuses to listen to the community, treat him like a pagan or a tax collector. I tell you solemnly, whatever you bind on earth shall be considered bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be considered loosened in heaven. I tell you solemnly once again, if 2 of you on earth agree to ask anything at all, it will be granted to you by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 meet in my name, I shall be there with them." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the book of Genesis chapter 4 verse 9, when God was not pleased with the sacrifice of Cain, later on Cain became very jealous of Abel, and we know that he killed Abel, his brother. And then when God came asking, Abel, Cain, where is your brother? Where is your brother? And Cain said, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? And the same thing we are being asked today, where is your brother? Where is your sister? And most of the time the tendency is to say that, we can do without them. We don't really need them. Especially when we find ourselves in situations where we have been hurt, or we find ourselves having a misunderstanding with our sister and our brother. The tendency is to shy away and say, I do not need him, I do not need her. At the same time, therefore, we are almost like Cain saying, am I my brother's keeper? I do not really need my brother, I do not really need my sister in my life. But Jesus says today in the gospel, yeah, you really do need your brother and you really do need your sister. It doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter the misunderstanding, you need them. You need your sister, you need your brother. The book of Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9 also says that 2 are better than 1. And this is what is showed in the gospel of today. And it starts with the words, if your brother does something wrong to you, it's not that if you do something wrong to your brother. That tells us how important it is to get back our brothers. If your brother does something to you, says that you must go and look for him. You must go and search out and be on the lookout for him and try to settle it, because it's so important for you to gain back your brother. It's not that you have done something wrong against him, if he has done something wrong against you, because when people hurt us, then we expect them to come and ask for forgiveness. When people do something wrong to us, we expect them to take the first step. But Jesus says, no, even if he's the one who has hurt you, you must go out in search of him. You must go out to settle this, to tell you how important it is for the relationship to be there. And he says, even if he does not listen to you, then call another person. That's a bit too much. It is already enough for me to make an effort to go and settle something with my brother or my sister who hurts me. But Jesus says, if he refuses, get another person. And then get a community. And then if he refuses to listen to the community, then treat him as a pagan or a tax collector. What does that mean? How did Jesus treat the pagans and the tax collectors? He treated them as people who knew nothing. So he went out and take for instance Matthew, take for instance Zacchaeus. He went into their homes and made them to see something new. So you start all over. Treat him as a sinner, meaning treat him as being ignorant. So you have to start to catechize him, you have to start to do everything anew. But it's not keeping him away from you. So it tells us that it's so important for us to get back into the relationship, to win back our brothers. If something has been broken down in our relationship, we must take an initiative to repair that. We don't need to wait for somebody to take the initiative, or that he's the one who did it. So why should I go to him? No, it's not about who did it. It's about gaining back our brothers. And the conclusion to this gospel tells us why it's important. And Jesus says, if two of you agree on what to pray for, it will be heard, it will be listened to. So it is so important that you agree on something. You have to be in agreements all the time. And it says, where two or more are gathered in your name, in my name, I am there in their midst. So it takes out that impression of feeling that we can make it by ourselves. It takes away that impression of feeling, no, I can, if they don't want to listen to me, I go into my room and I pray, I have a personal relationship. It's no longer about a personal relationship with Jesus. Personal relationship with Jesus is important, but to be in a community is as important also as possible is as important as also having a personal relationship with Jesus, as is demonstrated in this gospel. That is where two or more are gathered in his name, that is in their midst. Now, if you have lost your brother, how can you be two? If you don't have a relationship with your brother, how can you pray to God? How can you talk about God being in your midst? And that's why he says in his gospel, in this same gospel according to Matthew chapter 5 verse 23, if your brother has done something wrong against you, you are bringing your gift to the altar and you remember that, leave your gifts and go and be reconciled with your brother. So it's not just for me to relate with God and forget about the other horizontal relationship. We cannot just relate to God vertically and we forget about horizontal relationship. No, we need to be related to each other horizontally, and then together we can have a great relationship with God. In fact, God is going to have a relationship with us when we can be reconciled with each other, when we love one another. And that is why even at the washing of the feet, he told his disciples in John's Gospel chapter 13 that they would know that you are my disciples if you love one another. If you love one another. So love is really central to our calling as Christians. We must love each other. We must be reconciled with each other. And there is no room for division. It is only in unity that we can be sure that Christ is in our midst.